I'm Momoko.
I'm David Meyer, and we've known each other since we were 18, so half our lives now.
Half our lives now. We've been married almost 10. We had Iseline, our first daughter, in 2016. And in 2017, we discovered a lump on her back. And at first, our doctors told us, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a lipoma, a little fatty deposit. It happens in children. So they just sort of referred us to a specialist to do a quick biopsy, and they didn't find anything at first, right? And then they sent us home.
Yeah, it took 3 months to look at it.
You know, doctors don't want to tell you that your child has cancer. Like, we had to really take ownership of her health and say, like, no, something is wrong. She's a really late crawler, hasn't started really talking at all. Developmentally, she had maybe less than 10 words, I think, at the time. Wasn't even like thinking about pulling herself up or even showing signs of walking, and so we knew something was wrong.
It actually ended up being a very rare form of cancer. When we first found it, there was less than a dozen cases that we had people reported on it.
When they discovered it, they basically told us there's not really a protocol for treatment for this type of cancer, but we will treat it like a Ewing sarcoma.
For a split second, I remember fear, but honestly, I think my first thought was that we needed to be strong for our daughter.
I felt like when we first heard the news about Iseline's diagnosis was, it's go time. There's no time to waste. I think we both dove headfirst into this, and we were like, we're gonna make this happen. She is gonna survive. And that was sort of our mindset.
It was 30 weeks total, 15 sessions every 2 weeks of chemotherapy.
And that was really scary. And the chemo was really, it was hard, obviously, because she's a baby and she can't really tell you how she's feeling. I had just started reading this book, and it was called Option B by Sheryl Sandberg. And she wrote this book about her life and how she dealt with everything after her husband suddenly passed away. And one of the quotes in her book, it was, if option A isn't available, let's kick the shit out of option B. And that's kind of how we sort of approached everything that came at us. We really decided to find joy and celebrate whenever and whatever we could.
We would go to the same Italian restaurant. It was one of her favorite pizza places, and it just became kind of a way to, again, do something fun first, so you're going in with the best attitude you possibly can. So I think that's incredibly important, both for her mental well-being, but I also think for her physical well-being in the way that she takes the treatment too.
Obviously, there's no playbook for this. No one tells you how you're supposed to deal with it, but we just took our cues from our daughter.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the most impressive things. She would obviously have hard days. In the middle of her treatment, there was a period of time where she wasn't eating. She had to have a feeding tube for a while. There would be nights where she'd just want to lay in bed and, relax with you. And there were other nights too where she'd be in a silly mood, and she would be giggling with you and she'd be joking with you. It's incredibly nerve-wracking to be in this situation, but you don't want to just mope around and be sad the whole time, especially when your daughter, who's actually going through this, can have such a great attitude about it.
Her ability to just take the pain and then move on from it, I don't know if that's just human nature. It was very incredible to watch. I think it's a uniqueness to a child. Kids with cancer, I think they tend to be much more resilient and much stronger because I think they're able to sort of move forward from that pain and not dwell on it. So if this is how she's dealing with it, then this is how we should be dealing with it.
Hi. You're so fast.
When you walk the halls in the middle of the night, you're not the only scared parent that's walking with like an ice cup going back to your child's room. And I remember thinking to myself, I never want to forget walking with purpose to really understand one another. Somebody else might be going through like the worst day in their lives, and that it is so important to keep that in mind.
To have such amazing doctors, to have such amazing nurses, but also to see the other families going through it, there's an energy there that this is one of the worst times in your life that you'll ever be involved in. But to know that there's that support system, to know that there's others going through it, I can't imagine doing it alone. And so when I think of Walk with Purpose, I think of kind of forging those bonds, getting through these tough times together. And we were lucky enough to end up where we did.
Live a life of me.
We're 3.5 years from the end of her treatment. She was always a little bit behind in school just because she missed 1.5 years, but she's fully caught up now. She's doing full-time kindergarten. She's really loving it. She loves to boss her brother around. She's got a 2.5-year-old brother, Teddy, who's in preschool now, and they're kind of best friends who scooter around New York City together and really enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, and she's a sweet big sister to our 4-month-old baby as well. So we've seen her grow up into this really amazing little girl. And I think one of the things that we're both preparing ourselves for now is how do we approach this topic with her? I don't really know what the answer is, but so far as the questions come, I think we've decided let's not sugarcoat the experience. The goal is for her to own her own story, to be able to talk about it, to be able to share it with whoever she wants to share it with.
Even though she was very young, there's no way that this didn't shape her personality. It's certainly given her, I think, a determination and a fearlessness that, whether she knows it or not, is a part of her experience. There's always the possibility of the cancer coming back. There's also the possibility of side effects. I mean, she was given chemotherapy for a very long time at a very young age. When we go to the doctor, she asks, why did I get cancer? Can I get cancer again? We want to be honest and open and forthright with her and make sure she really understands and can embrace her experience. We're going to continue to live with that uncertainty for the rest of our lives effectively, but it's not something that we want to focus on.
We're choosing to focus on the future and choosing to allow her to be a child. We can drown in the unknown, but I think we choose to take the perspective that life is short and we really want her to choose joy.